Just a continuation from last time's talk with regards to Tesla. So we're breaking, I guess, this conversation into three parts. So part one, what I want to talk about is Tesla pricing and what it actually has an influence on the auto market right now. It's very interesting with what they've recently done. The second part is talking with regards to a micro bubble that's occurring right now in the more economic cars, not cheaper and more economical cars. So like Honda Civics to Toyotas, a trend that's growing, and it's pretty concerning in my eyes. And the third part I want to talk about is the luxury car market. Not the luxury like exotics, but I'm talking like Mercedes-Benz, mid-tier, Lexuses, some trends that are happening right now. So just breaking it down to these three parts, okay? So first part, from the last conversation, we're talking about Tesla's car reduction prices actually causing a drag in used car prices. So I'll just open on the tab here. I have it set up or anything. Just letting you know the prices that you see here, this is like a dealer back-end price. So these are the prices that dealers trade between each other. It's good information for thought, but chances are it's very hard for the retail client to ever actually get this. But just food for thought. So you know, are dealers panicking or something along the lines? Okay, so just I open the screen here, just have a quick look. And I want you to show you how dramatically the decline of value is. So this is a Tesla Model 3, right? Okay, one of them really, it's more economical and for Teslas. You could see back in the time, these cars were like 59,000, 58,000 coming right off the ground. Because why? There's a bunch of speculators in this field as well. So a lot of people were buying these cars, selling them because the market was hot. But you immediately notice a trend. I'll just reverse it. Let's just see today. So you're looking at 58,000 for a standard rear-wheel drive. Let's just see that, $46,000. Like for 2022, that's a dramatic decline in prices. It's in part because Tesla cut their prices too, because they actually can afford to, because they have such a good margin due to their production, i.e. we talked about this last time. But this is actually causing a very weird situation occurring. We'll go into this example.
And before we go any further, let's give people an example of how much the Teslas cost about a year ago.
Oh, about a year? Well, I just showed you the example. Like about a year ago, the Model 3 was going for about 60,000 Canadian, and they were flipping higher because the speculation really came in because you could order a Tesla for $150. While Tesla prices were increasing, the company was increasing the prices, people were ordering this car and then flipping them. That's literally what happened. And it's not just the normal people, like when I say normal people, I mean the retail doing this. The dealerships were going at it. Like one person, oh yeah, I'll buy one Tesla, enjoy it. I order another one, the next one arrived, I sell my first one. Hey, I made a pretty good profit, that's great. I now get my next Tesla. Those are like, okay, that's like, if I say that's one deviation of speculation. So we'll break that down. You have the user, the guy who bought the Tesla and is just using it. He enjoys it, he loves it, that kind of stuff. That's okay. That's the primary user. It's primary speculator. He just buys it because he trusts it. One deviation away, in my opinion, just using deviation as a word, okay, is the type of person who goes like, I'll order a new Tesla because I'm using my old one. Hey, the new one arrived. It's $150. I sold my old one and made some money. This is great. Let me get into the new Tesla. Let me do that again for the next 2 years. So that's what happened during COVID. So these Tesla prices were going up dramatic because it's so cheap to order one, right? Then comes the third deviation, the full-blown speculator. And these guys are, I have to say, I'm even though I didn't partake in this, dealers did. So I'm in the industry that did partake in this. It's the people that goes like, you know, a lot of people want Teslas. You know, there's a lot of supply shortage being marketed out. Well, nothing's stopping me from ordering, you know, all of it. It's just $150, just smack that continuously, right? So they kept ordering dozens and dozens of this. And I'll show you on the screen right now, and a pure example where this really comes from is like, here's an example. People are waiting in line for Teslas. Why are there 93-kilometer Teslas sold on the dealer network? There's no reasons for these. Now these have numbers because these are actually users selling them. But let's just reverse back in the day, back at the prime of this stuff, okay? At the prime pricing, you start noticing brand new, 600 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers is brand new. These things, like long ranges particularly, are more expensive by like 10,000, but like these things, 70 grand. These things back then was like 65, about so.
And then dealers would go and sell it for even more
than
what's listed here.
So like what you see here, this is like the dealer network. So dealers would buy this if they hit, like this is wholesale, so they get it wholesale and they have to sell it to retail. They have to make their margin too in order to keep their business operational and stuff. But at these price points, like, it's like, here's a straight up example. If you bought the Model 3 at the peak, like, this is not even peak, this is November. This is just a couple months ago, which is really depressing, thinking just a couple months ago it was worth this much, and it's like, boom, just straight down. If you were buying for $70,000 wholesale, you had to sell for 77 in order to, like, that's the fair margin. Give it negotiation room, give it that you have costing, you have customers, you have to bring the car in, you have to clean it, even though I don't know what is there to clean if it's a brand new car. Just a food for thought, okay? So the dealers are the purest speculators of the market at the moment. And of course there is supply shortage, which is true, but it's driven even more supply shortage because speculation got into play. But that's a topic for another time, okay? So let's get back to the Tesla, okay? Let's get back to modern day pricing, and I want to show a couple examples. Like, we're looking at the rear-wheel drive, the more economical one, because that's something that reasonable people could relatively achieve. Like, they would look at this car and compare it to other cars. All right, so yeah, this was very interesting, this one, but we'll go particularly with the 2020 Standard Range Plus rear-wheel drive model, okay? No, let's see, sorry, I need to go back at the pricing of that. All right, let's find that. Because you want to see the sense that people purchase vehicles for. Let's see, 2020 rear-wheel drive 39. Yeah, this one. Yeah, you start noticing there's a dramatic decline. It's still, the Tesla price is fluctuating quite drastically. Not this one. Let me find a particular one recently. Yeah, this one's an interesting one too. This one's actually really interesting, what just happened. Okay. All right, so what you see there on the screen right now is an open order, meaning somebody already purchased the vehicle and they're picking up the vehicle for their dealership. What you see right there, $38,500 for a 2021 Model 3 Standard Range Plus rear-wheel drive is the most economical option that you could get from Tesla. This car probably has, well, their EPA listing is 450 kilometers. But in reality, it's more like 300 and something? Yeah, about 370. Just being very realistic on that sense. So it's realistic. But on a brand, let's do this. So just to show you the pricing of this situation, let's go order a new Tesla. So you could see the dramatic decline in price. So you have an idea on it. Okay. Come on, Tesla Model 3. Come on, internet. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. All right. While that's loads, yeah. So you could order that. Well, yeah, it's right there. A Model 3, estimated delivery time $54,000. Tell me you're not interested in the vehicle when, hey, where's the price go? Let's open that again. Yeah, when it's $38,500. Like, look at that compared to a brand new one. And the thing is, sure, these are 2023 models. Okay, let's go right into the Tesla site and order a new one. Oh yeah, it's cutting it off slightly. There you go. All right, so let's just go. I don't want a demo car. I just want the current inventory pricing. And just a like side note, there is a lot of stock coming in on Tesla, so we want to look at it.
Supply shortage basically has ended.
Supply shortage, I wouldn't say have ended. They're
catching up on production.
They're catching up on production. Tesla was never meant to be a luxury car, but for some reason it feels like a lot of people mistaken it as a luxury car. Not mistaken, I wouldn't say that. It's like during the last 2 years or so, because Tesla is an early adopter in the EV world, what you got was a lot of brand names trying to chase Tesla, not the other way around. You got Porsche Taycan trying to chase Tesla. You got Mercedes-Benz trying to chase Tesla. Kind of gave Tesla an improved branding image, like they were a luxury good. I have to use that in sense. The brand image got much better because of that. So yeah, in terms of luxury, like Tesla became a de facto luxury good at the peak of the market. Like people like paid prime for this car because they deemed practicality as luxury at that moment, or they flipped it. Okay, what was I getting through? Yeah, right. So I want to show you like a brand new model, $54,999. This is after the price cuts of Tesla. Back then, these things were like 60 grand or so, and then you bring that car back down to something reasonable, like 38,500 is very reasonable because there's a second part to this. The third part conversation I want to bring into is the what's going on. Oh, the second part, the trends I see in the more economical cars. So Honda, Civics, Toyotas, Corollas. There's a very disturbing trend that's occurring there that's actually giving way to now Teslas. Like, we'll talk about that in a quick, brief moment, but it's just, this is the example of how Tesla is bringing down a weight on used car prices. When these cars come cheap, somebody, like deep down in everyone's mind, probably in the back of their head, they're considering, I've seen this EV cycle, what's going on, can I actually get into it? They're like in the back of everyone's mind. If a car is cheap enough, they will consider it and swap into it. It's just the new thing, okay? Let's talk about the second part of the conversation. So the first part we were talking about just, I'm not done, sorry. Yeah, this leads to the real part. Tesla recently cutting down their new pricing, okay? So as they cut down their new prices, it actually brought into a very, very interesting situation that happened. Yesterday and today, Ford and Chevrolet made announcements with regards to the price cuts. So Tesla being the de facto, they've gotten the brand image improvement over the last 2 years, being de facto EV car of the world, technically. They've got so much attention. Cars were trying to catch up to them. They're making EV cars to catch up with them. Tesla then goes and sets the established pricing for EV cars. So Model Y became the de facto. Everybody was using a Model Y to compare to their car manufacturers. So what you had was Ford with the Mach-E. What you had was now the Mercedes-Benz GLB. A lot of EV cars were trying to like price match around the Model Y. And then the Model Y crashes in price because, of course, Tesla, knowing the market, the economy is not doing as well with high interest rates, and they are having good margins on each of their vehicles produced, they reduced their price points accordingly in order to win more market share. Last time we were talking about this, saying that they had such a stronghold of the price. Yesterday, Ford made an announcement saying, hey, Tesla weaponized the car price. It literally weaponized it because Tesla had such good margins on these cars. Ford, every other car manufacturer in EV doesn't have that margin. They don't have that margin at all yet because they're still legacy manufacturers. They're still using their legacy manufacturing, which is very costly. Lots of labor, lots of everything. Meanwhile, because of the last conversation we had, the last podcast, Elon Musk built a new factory from ground up. So there's a big difference between the two. One's built from World War II and one's like today, modern era with computer technology, like a lot more modernized. I'm not bashing the legacy auto manufacturers because they are also like peak of technology at that moment, but it's very hard to drastically change something that's worked for so many years. So what the legacy auto manufacturers realized that the margins on these EV cars on them are not quite as good. So the Mach-E was actually losing money for Ford. They were losing money at the current pricing. But because Tesla's price cut, yesterday Ford made an announcement, they were doing price cuts on their Mach-E, on their electric cars. So just to give you an example what the Mach-E looks like. So
and how much do these Mach-E's cost?
Well, they were 60 grand. They were supposedly be matched to the Model Y, right? The Mach-E were 60 grandish. They were supposedly be matched to the Model Y. And that's where their cater market is, because everybody's catering to that, right? It's like they were originally at the peak, they were heading up towards 80,000, 90,000. So yeah, these are already having price cuts coming on already. So the Mach-E, let's find a picture. It's easier to, so you have a reference point of the picture. So this car, yeah, there you go. This is the Mach-E. Nice car. It's really, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say problems with it. It's just like, because of the rush to EVs, a lot of manufacturers skipped a lot of steps. The last 2 years, we've probably experienced an actual decrease in quality of cars, but increase of like, the bells and whistles. Like all the cars look better, all the cars have more technology in it, but the quality and reliability of it has been kind of jeopardized because they try to speed run it very quickly. Like what we witnessed the last 3 years with the auto market is like speed run, just like everybody running at it because low interest rates at that moment. But Tesla did the right thing. Well, in my opinion, they took that money instead of like paying it out as dividends, even though it sucks to be a shareholder, they're not. They reinvested into production and made that better. Meanwhile, what you had was like Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, BMW, who took that low interest rate, invested a little bit back in the legacy manufacturing, but most of it just paid it out as dividends, right?
Well, so
it's a big difference.
Really looking to improve their price per share.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. So you have a difference. This is a difference between an actual business, I feel, that's focusing heavily on production versus a business that's already established. An established business has to take care of its shareholders. But anyways, that's another point for another time. So the Mach-E. So Ford made the announcement that they were already losing money on the Mach-E at their old pricing. Because of Tesla, they termed it, Tesla weaponized their pricing, right? So the Ford actually now made announcements that they're not planning, they're going to price cut the Mach-E. They're already losing money, and they're going to price cut it some more. So they're going to lose even more money on each Mach-E sold from here on. And their argument is to maintain market share, because even they realize, hey, Tesla is trying to take market share from everyone again. And this time, can EVs take market share from legacy combustible engines, ICE cars, internal combustion engine cars? Probably now is probably an ideal moment for it to actually start winning, because the last 3 years gave it so much brand awareness, so much branding. They could sell out, which is what they're doing right now. They're selling out. They're literally well, if you were a luxury car, you will never price cut. You wouldn't. There's no reason for you to price cut. Imagine if you're Rolex, I price cut. Well, there goes a little bit of your luxury image, right? But here Tesla is price cutting. But people, because of the last 2 years, they've associated Tesla with the more luxury brands because cars were chasing it. Like, oh, look, Porsche is chasing Tesla, trying to make their own equivalent car. Ooh, okay, that gives us a brand. Tesla just sold out. They're selling out the brand. They're cutting down the pricing and reaching a more affordable audience. But because of, we still have this short-term moment where people still think Teslas are still a more exotic, a more expensive car. They're a more higher premium car than everything else. But of course, I like, give it that, Tesla car build qualities do have problems too. It's not like I'm praising them like they're everything.
Yeah, because this isn't a promotion.
It's not promotion.
For Tesla.
Yeah,
it's just not. We're giving the facts. It's just.
Yeah.
What's actually happening?
Yeah, just opinions with regards to this. I'm a car, like me being a car dealer, I probably pay a little bit more attention to the market on this. Like it's my job, so I have to look at this stuff. So it's just trends I've noticed. And so Ford made that announcement yesterday. Tesla weaponized their prices. They're cutting prices on their Mach-E, which they're already losing money on, so they're going to lose more money on it. Okay, that's aside. Today, Chevy came out saying something very ironic too. They say, we are not price cutting. We do not want to price cut, because we do not believe there's a jeopardy to our market share. And then immediately after, 30 seconds later, he goes like, but expect greater discounts on all our cars. So it's like, oh, you hear that, like, wait, what? And so look at the results of it. So I would say indirectly they do know, like they had to come up with an announcement of that, because if Ford's cutting prices, Tesla's cutting prices, I'm pretty sure soon, either A or B will happen. The other legacy EV car manufacturers, like who are making EV cars, they will try to adjust their pricing back down to try to match up to what Tesla is, because now Tesla can be used as a comparable. Like imagine back then in 2018, nobody used Tesla as a comparable to anything. It's a Mercedes-Benz. It's a Mercedes-Benz. I compare it to Lexus, right? But now people are like, okay, this mindset has changed. Now they could use Tesla as a comparable. And now the question is, now imagine using imagine using that imagine using that as a comparable. Imagine using the Model 3 as a comparable to every car, because now it gives a standard. Do you want to go to the future where it's an AV car, where it's supposed to save you gas? And now, because people have more mentality thinking about gasoline is another thing, right? That's also instilled a cultural change in people's minds. It's so low. It drives up a certain comparable fact. Now I want to lead to the second part. Why this also has an influence on another market. So we'll go into research. I want to show you something that's going on recently with Hondas, Toyotas, especially with the Civics and Corollas. So we'll just go with the Honda Civics, okay? There's this, this software is a little finicky. I need to pick the exact correct one. So Honda Civics, Dan, okay. Come on, yeah, there we go. Would you look at that? Okay, if you, immediately from just looking at it, $37,000 for a Civic.
And how much do these usually cost?
Well, let's go right to the page. So we will see it. Honda Civic, brand new. So, all right, so this is a very unique story I want to bring up. So, the supply shortage story, it gets back to the supply shortage story again. So I want to break this down so you have an absolute idea on what is really going on. So right now, Honda, from what I know is on trending wise, Honda Civics, the more economic cars, are bubbling in price. They're drastically going up. Okay, so this is in terms of two things. So, of course, you still hear the story, supply shortage. There is a supply shortage, but I would blame the speculators more than... and look at that, you can see it, 35,000. You just wholesaled it for 37,000. A dealer just made what? Even though it's like $2,000 or so, plus transportation or anything, that's 5%. And what is that dealer who bought this with 15,000 kilometers, not even brand new, going to do? Try to sell it higher. So the dealers are now shifting over to more economical cars. Why? Because the audience, it's basically
it's a larger market.
It's a market psychology game. What's going on? Recession is here. People admit, we will still say it's a recession. It's pretty much a recession we're entering into. High interest rates have slowed down the economy drastically. So it's very straightforward to think people are going to start shifting over to more economical cars, more cheaper cars, something that could pay off and they could tank basically for the next couple of years while they rebuild their livelihood around this recession. What you have here is a bubbling effect occurring because dealers realize this. So you know where the market's going. The market wants to go to cheaper cars, but they want reliability, and some of them still have a little bit of money, so they want the newest one, right? So they know that. So you know the demand's there. There's a supply shortage. Oh, okay, so this supply shortage gets into a really interesting part too. Okay. Supply shortage is exacerbated by dealer demand too, like speculators get into this because they're prepping for the dealer market. They're prepping for the purchasers, the demand. They see it coming, so they prep it for demand. So they're buying all these cars. And yeah, I can't wait to the people start coming in and buying these cars, which they are. This is a problem. They are buying these cars at these prices, these ridiculous prices right now. So the supply shortage is a real story. It's like there is a catalyst to this. So we'll jump off topic a little bit to explain the supply shortage. Imagine yourself as a chip manufacturer back in the day. During the peak of 2019, there's so much demand for chips, you can't make that many. So let's just give an example. This is literally what happened. You as a chip manufacturer, you make 100 chips. You have two producers who want to make cars. One's Honda and one's BMW. Everybody has a supply shortage, but the car pricing is bubbling. Like people are buying BMWs because low interest rates, they're buying all these cars so much that they're out of stock, that there is an actual supply shortage. Because back in the day, you made 1,000 chips and you only make 100 now. Like you make less chips. So what do you do as a chip manufacturer? Well, you have shareholders to appease, and also you have profit margins to try to maintain. And you're hoping, hey, even though I make less chips, I really need to make more money to make up my shortcomings for this last year. It's just very straightforward sense. They would, of course, pick whoever pays more. Well, a Honda back in the day was $25,000. A BMW, we're talking about 60 to 70, and they were pushing for 80s, right? So it's very straightforward to realize BMW is offering more money for these chips. So chip manufacturers, what they did is they divvied out their allocation more to the more exotic cars because people could afford it at that time. So the more exotic cars got more of the chips. So instead, you had 100 chips, I won't go to exaggerate, but like 70 goes to BMW or goes to the mid-tier, more exotic cars because they pay a heftier margin. But you still have to give 20 to Civics, right? Because Civics had to still make it. You're not going to kill your supplier, kill your demand, right? So they made it. Now the economy flipped, right? Now people's demand has shifted from higher end cars because of high interest rates, because of mortgage interest rates, because the economy is slowing down. They shifted to the cheaper brand. But guess what? Because of the decisions made during COVID, those cheaper cars, more economic cars, don't have that many chips. There is a supply glut for them. So people bought their cars. And guess what? Very quickly, they would sell out. So they were selling out, leading up to a drive-up demand on more economical cars. So this is a really bad trend you're noticing right now, that people are buying Civics for quite a bit, like 40 grand. Like back in the day, honestly, back in the day, 2019, Civics were like 22 grand. We're talking about, like even here, this is an exaggerated case. Brand new Civics are 28,000 back in the day. Brand new base model, 22,000. Back in 2018, 2019, these things were probably 19 to 20,000. They've increased the price by $8,000 purely by demand. So this is leading to another situation I have, but I'll explain that later on because auto manufacturers are doing something drastically problematic. But this is a story. So just from looking at the trends market here, you're looking at these prices. These are drastic prices for Civics. Like, yeah, it's a catering market, so basically the market's trying to adjust people's demands. But here's the story. Now you look at the Civic. Now let's go back in the past and look at this, not this, let's look at the Tesla. Let's look back into the Tesla. Yeah, now look at this. Now you tell me you would not start comparing a shift in technology, like 38 to a Civic. Okay, 31,000 kilometers, a little bit more, you get to change a mindset. And you've been hearing, because of the brand improvement on Tesla Model 3s, I'm pretty sure a lot of people, when given a choice, they would probably shift to Civic, save some gas. Sure, Honda is very reliable, I'll give it that. Honda is reliable. But sometimes people want new things. I would imagine that, right? So Tesla has this profound weaponized ability of pricing because A, they actually have a higher profit margin, and B, they sold out a lot of cars and they're still pumping a lot of these cars out because they're more efficient at it. All right, so just food for thought. Be wary. Don't overpay for a Civic. No, please don't. Try not to. There's a bubbling forming here. Eventuality, these people will probably get stuck upside down. They are upside down right now on their lease if they return it back in.
And is this something you expect to go on for a long period of time, or is it something that'll turn over quickly?
So that part gets really in depth. It talks a lot more about the economy. So right now, why this is happening is because there's a second thing happening. I'll show you what's going on additionally. Like each of these parts actually are in tune each other. It's not like one thing happens and it's a clear effect. They all have correlations. They all support each other in certain ways. So Civics are going up in price, but from the earlier conversation, because of the economy shifting demand, the next part I want to link into is shows you what's going on. What's going on with auto manufacturing at the mid-tier, at the more expensive cars. So you get a lot of people shifting over to these cars, cheaper cars, because there's recessions here. There's actually pretty good chances these people are coming from here. So what I'm posting right now for you, hold on, let me reload that. What I'm posting right now for you is actually a brand new well, not brand new, but still 2022, is relatively newish. Lexus, oh, yeah, let me put that up there properly. Give me a second. Yeah, there you go. You see it right there. Yeah, that's what we need. Okay, so what we're witnessing here is a situation going on. If you see it already, it's very great, but yeah. All right, so let's just go 2022. There we go. All right, 2022, 350 automatically. Okay, I want you to realize that what's going on. A lot of the mid-scale, like mid-tier businesses, like mid-tier vehicles, like vehicles above $50,000, $45,000, all the way to probably up to $100,000, they're experiencing quite a drought right now. Demand has shifted quite drastically away from them because rather than you're entering a recessionary period, they're not experiencing the boom from the 2019s because of low interest rates. High interest rates are they're causing a demand shift. Not a lot of people want to buy more expensive cars entering recession, and especially this type of car. There's another story about the cars above 100K, but I'll keep that for a later podcast so you guys have an idea on it, okay? So we'll go for an example of here. An NX 350 starts from 59,443, right? All right, I want you to go into the store. Never mind on the price on the right. I want you to show this. So we are looking at an F Sport 3 Series, basically. The top trim, the top sports trim on this car right now at the moment, okay? Give it a quick moment while it loads so you could tell the actual pricing. So right there, what you see right there, $68,932. That's before tax. That's you ordering a brand new car. A brand new car, right from Lexus. 0 kilometers, of course, so we have to give it that. Cars depreciate, that's something to be considered. But now if you look on the right, okay, so on this screen, same thing, dealer-to-dealer network, so not really, just really showing you the in-depth back-end pricing, but not like, it's not really achievable by any retail individual because businesses got to make money. Somebody has to pay for this vehicle, somebody has to clean the vehicle, so yeah. But dealers swapped this car between each other. Same trim, absolutely same trim. This is F Sport 3 with the heads-up display. Same trim. 12,000 kilometers. On average in Canada, that's probably half a year worth of driving. Not really much. It's still a new car, a young new car. 53,500 before tax. That's what it sells for. That's quite crazy drastically when you compare it to 68,932 brand new off the lot, and now it's 53,000. So in a blink of an eye, you just lost $15,000. Like 6 months, you lost 15,000. Sure, depreciation is a thing we have to take into consideration. Secondary, I actually would say Tesla probably had an impact to reduce that price too, because now it's like, yeah, okay, because this is still a gasoline car, not a hybrid. Hybrids are performing better, but just food for thought what's going on. But something's weird's going on here as well. 53,500. This car's 68,900. The car manufacturers are doing something quite problematic, I feel. So this car is an NX. It's a mid-scale vehicle. In 2019, a Lexus NX 250 F Sport 3 MSRP is actually much lower. I need to find the page. Give me a quick, not 300, let's just say 300. F Sport 3, there you go. There you go. Straight from Lexus, this main page. You'll see it right there highlighted because I was looking at this. I was talking to a friend with regards to this back then. In 2019, the MSRP of an F Sport Series 3 is $57,000. These car manufacturers jacked up the price $12,000 over the span of, 2019 to 2023, like over the span of 3-4 years, technically. Like, and this is 2022 model, so it's a year older as well. So you're looking at 3 years, they moved up the price so drastically that it's like, this is becoming quite problematic. Cars are becoming quite luxury.
What do you think caused that?
Well, supply shortage was one that was noted, but honestly, it was caused by excessive demand. Inflationary is another part of the question. They probably looked at their pricing and compared, can they catch up? Can they increase their pricing in such a way to make most of a lower interest environment? So what I'm saying is there's deflation that's going to happen. All these car manufacturers are going to have to cut their prices. You increase, when interest rates are low, when the economy is bubbling with so much cash, you increase your price drastically because you want to capture more of this new market, new money. You want to capture it. So you increase your prices, you introduce a lot more stuff. That's probably what happened. Greed is part of it too. I'm not saying like greed isn't, but there is greed in this. So car manufacturers increase the price because people are willing to pay for it. They were having a supply shortage, but it's exacerbated by demand, by dealers who are buying the cars and flipping them for higher. Like when arbitrage like that happens, it basically means you're selling your car too cheaply, sir, as a manufacturer. When a dealer could come in, take your car and flip it for higher to market, well, it's meaning there is excessive demand. And that's what was going on. Like remember that story for the last 2 years? Yo, you buy a new car, you could sell it within a month and make money. That was like a widespread story because of the demand shortage. So what I'm saying is the manufacturers increased the price accordingly, which was fair at the peak of the moment. But what should happen now is because the liquidity dried up, there's not that much more cash anymore, interest rates are high. They have to start cutting, they will eventually start trying to, or having to, cut down their prices. They will have to start deflationary cutting down prices. And guess what? Tesla is the first one who bit the bullet. They cut their prices. Whoever cuts their prices first now, introduce a higher quality good, wins more market share. And it looks like, to me, in my opinion, Tesla is targeting a market share. Tesla from day one never made an announcement. They're never a luxury car. Like Elon, I'm pretty sure, said that straight up. Model 3, Model Y is not meant to be a luxury car, but it was charging the price of a Mercedes-Benz, which is a luxury car, right? Back in the day, like no, even now they are brand new. They are still equivalent price to a Mercedes-Benz, right? Isn't that a luxury car? They're like, yeah, sure. So they're taking the luxury pricing, but for a relatively economic car that they were targeting. This car back in the day was 35,000 USD, of course. That's 42,000 Canadian back in the day. They were like that car was priced for 42K. But we drove up the pricing to 60 grand. And now it's just returning back to normal. That's what's going on. That's what's going on.
And do you think for people who are looking to buy cars now, is now a good time to buy, do you think?
So the thing is, so it gets very messy. Now we have to talk about the economy. So it might derail off track, but everything is regarded to the economy. So what's going on right now is you have to ask yourself, and I would ask myself too, why would you sell your car at a 15K loss immediately? As soon as this guy essentially had it for 6 months and sold it. And this is not a unique trend. There's dozens I could find of this. People underselling their cars to dealers, or dealers willing to undersell. Because what's going on is a lot of people are getting caught by the downside of the market. So back to the first podcast when I was saying, dealers were speculators. People were speculating in the Tesla market. Can you imagine the loss they took when they purchased a dozen Teslas at the price right before Elon cut it? Immediately lost 10 grand. That was a lot of losses they just took. And dealers and individuals wouldn't want to admit it, but it's like, damn, I'm wrong. They won't admit they're wrong, so they're going to try to sell it to the highest they can. But eventuality, something comes knocking at the door. Either let it be a bank, let it be a mortgage, let it be anything. They knock at the door and they're forced to sell because they need to come up with cash. So what I would feel what's going on is mortgage renewals are coming due for a lot of homes. A lot of people locked in the rates and whatnot, or the homes arrived. Interest rates honestly drastically increased. From the bottom was 1.9%. You could get 1% back at the bottom, 1% interest rate. Today, if you went to a bank, they said their prime is 6.75. You get a mortgage rate of 6.2. That's a what? 600? I don't even know how that works. That's a 6 times increase in interest rates. And banks are going to become a lot more stringent with regards to a loan. So something deep down is telling me that banks are probably knocking at people's doors and telling them, hey, I notice you have this leased car on your name. You can't have that while you have a mortgage. I'm reaching, I'll admit. This sounds like a reach, but it sounds like something's going on that's making people decide to sell. And at a loss, they take it. Why? Honestly, think about it. You had this NX, you sold it if you bought it, you owned it, you sold it for 53. Okay, I admit I took a loss. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go buy a Civic. I still have 20 grand left if they had to. Buy it completely out or something like that, right? So that's also leading the demand for these cars. That's the first part of the demand. People are shifting away from more exotic, more expensive cars to more economic cars because they're willing to tank it for the next couple of years. And if Tesla comes into this market, they're going to win too, I feel. If a 2021 Tesla Model 3 could undersell a Tesla sedan, Civic right now, they're going to outperform. It is. It's just because people will look at pricing. And here's the thing. Okay, it's great. Honda Civic Touring, very reliable. $37,000, dealer sells it to you for $40,000. Let's just say both for the same price. Okay, $44,000. The Civic has a higher insurance rate than Tesla, very ironically, but depending on its size. So never mind the insurance, let's put that aside. Gas is still a thing. Gas prices are quite elevated. Even now, it's eased off. It looks like it's inching back up, actually. So fuel prices, resource prices are going back up. People have already been shocked with the $2 gas per liter here in Ontario before. They've been shocked with it. So now that's actually back in the back of their mind. And how much would gas be relatively be? $200, $300 a month? Hey, I'd rather park that in the Tesla than in a Civic. It's just very straightforward sense. You save an extra $200, $300. Why? Somebody's got to pay that mortgage if they have a mortgage. If they don't, congratulations. If the mortgage is coming to renewal, good luck. Basically unload as much debt as you can in order to satisfy the conditions of the mortgage renewal. That's probably what they're going to demand, right? So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. So that's the sense of where I'm coming from with regards to expensive cars selling out to becoming cheaper cars. It's just that we're starting to return to normality, basically. People's practical sense are coming back. But of course, if you ask me a question, should someone go buy a car right now? I say if you already have a car and you're not needing to buy a car, hold off at the moment. But these prices are starting to look good, right? Soon they'll be quite good. And then you could probably pick up a good car for a while because I have a very strong feeling we might see a stagnation in car manufacturing from here on out. So like the story, 2019, interest rates collapsed because of COVID. But what we saw over the next 3 years to 2021, low interest rates led to a huge driving bubble happening in the auto industry. More money than ever before, more demand than ever before. Car manufacturers really did make their cars have a lot more bells and whistles, a lot more technology. They did actually it feels like drastically improved the amount of stuff you get in a car. Now everything is standard. Heated seats, AC seats. Now everything's pretty much standard. Backup camera, 360 camera, 360 sensors, auto drive. Well, auto drive is a sectional, but now it's become more accessible. That's happened in the last 3 years because of low interest rates. So you had like an economic booming for businesses. But now we're entering a recession. So from history, it kind of feels, just looking back in history, car manufacturers aren't going to be as innovative as before. When money was cheap, of course you innovate. You have R&D. You have a lot of money to funnel into R&D. But today, what are we hearing? We're laying off people. We're reducing our production capacity. We're laying off people. These companies are going to eventually shift to a money pinching mode. That means less innovation. That means less improvement on the cars. Instead, we might see not pricing inflation, but we might see a decrease in quality of goods even in order for them to make the margins. So that's probably the next couple of years until we get out of this little economic rut. Hopefully we get out of it soon, but food for thought. Yeah, so the cars that you probably see today, versus the cars you see today versus the cars that are probably coming out the next couple of years, it's probably going to be similar quality and goods and productivity. I don't expect anything to be crazy. So you can actually just start keeping your eye open. Because remember, if we're returning back to normalcy, these cars are only expected to go down in value. Cars don't go up. Cars are a depreciating asset, not an appreciating asset. So that's my 2 cents. So if you're forced to need a car, it's a good time to start looking at now. To start maybe picking up a good one. Don't go for Civics. Don't go for dirt cheap Civics. Go for the tier that's lost the most, that depreciated the most. Right now it's mid-tier. Teslas are mid-tier, and they lost a lot more because they're actually cutting additionally against it. I'm not a Tesla pusher. I'm definitely not. But it's just saying Tesla has probably shown a lot of, the stuff Tesla have done the last couple years has probably opened the eyes of legacy auto manufacturers. They introduced the model of online sales. If you think of yourself, you're legacy manufacturers, you have franchise dealerships. You actually buy dealerships. You're paying employees. You're washing, collision centering, and towing cars. You're a car manufacturer, and you have to do all these in order to get sales. And then guess what? These guys franchise out. They franchise out to these dealers. And guess what? Those dealerships, honest case, not pointing any fingers, and dealerships have a pretty scummy image. It's actually really sad. It's not sad or so. It's just that's the market. They upcharge on prices. They mark up things. They're trying to make more money off of the hard work of technically the manufacturer. And manufacturers have called them out on this. Hey, don't you dare mark up car prices. But look at the States. Canada has regulations, which is better. But look at the States. Some cars get a $10,000, $20,000 markup from the franchise dealership, not the car manufacturer. They don't get any of that. So there's a really bad stigma to that. But guess what? Now you look at Tesla. Tesla doesn't have quite that influence, that situation. Tesla has shifted everything to online. They only have a support center, and they send mechanics to your place to fix your car. Greater reduction in expenses. They've proven that they have a greater profit margin in cars. They've probably opened the eyes of legacy auto manufacturers to see how can they capture some of that technology. Some of the innovations that Tesla will have approved. I'm fully kind of expecting. Now it's going really down into speculation. It could be wrong. Just what I say from here standing forward could be wrong because nobody could predict the future. I would imagine Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Lexus, car manufacturers might break off into two. There's no more middle class anymore. No more middle ground. It'll break off into two. What I mean by that is that they might shift completely into making a very expensive car. A very higher end car, shifting over to a higher online model because they start unloading a lot of their expenses and vehicle costs. And then they shift off to the other end where they're just become a manufacturer. They're just making cars to also cater to the online market. So car manufacturing might be very weird in the future, I feel. They might branch off and make like a subsidiary brand to test out their Tesla model if they could mimic that and then grow that model. So that's what I say, because it's very hard to move a dinosaur. That's literally what it's called. Legacy automakers are very hard to move. They realize there's so many people employed with them. There's so many pieces that they can't break, and it's working right now. Don't break it. They might try to branch off to make their own sub-brand that's of a higher quality good, and then try to take on a Tesla approach to it. Just 2 cents. Not sure, but I feel it's very logical for them to try that.
And I think that's a good place to wrap it up.